Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250. And you can also watch us via Facebook. Just go to One News PH/Facebook. And also One News PH YouTube. Okay, it's August 25, 2020. It's a Tuesday. And from yesterday to today, things have become sad in the country because of that bombing in Holosulu. So far, we will give you the updates later as I read the main news from the headlines. But at 9 o'clock today, this morning, 9 a.m., September 25, 2020, the President Rodrigo Duterte is scheduled to address the nation. And probably, in all likelihood, it will be in connection with the Holosulu bombing. Now oh, what did I say? Oh, okay. I said September. Sorry, I meant August 25. Okay. In any case, the president will be addressing the nation later this morning, and if that happens at 9 o'clock, we will cut to the speech and give room for that important speech. We're expecting that the president will definitely speak out, condemn that bombing, and there are speculations that he might even declare another round of emergencies in the area, if not martial law. If you recall, that's what happened about a year ago, or was it, or 2 years ago? In any case, we'll follow up on that later. And for today, we have scheduled Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan, Department of Education, because it has been reported that quite a number of DepEd officials, teachers, and even learners have contracted the COVID-19 virus. And there are questions as to whether the plan is still a go for October, or is this going to be reconsidered? And what are the safety protocols, health protocols being undertaken by our educators? And well, I mean, they're not an exception to the rule here, because a lot of government officials, a lot of government employees have been infected by COVID-19. The Philippine National Police, for instance, has had over 3,000 cases, and the Department of Justice has had several cases. I don't know if if they reached the 50 or 100 already. And we will also be joined by DILG Undersecretary Epimaco Denzing, because we need to clarify with the undersecretary, or maybe he can help us understand. There seems to be some confusion regarding the rules of engagement for those of you who want to go out, particularly the senior citizen. Kasi parang may mga ibang barangay, there are places who are writing the rules as they go, and they have that leeway, but it's led to some annoyance, irritation, and misunderstanding. We will also be speaking with former Health Secretary Dr. Esperanza Cabral regarding the supposed, predicted, baka-baka na flattening of the curve former Secretary Cabral, Dr. Cabral has a very interesting point of view regarding where we will be if we flatten the curve. And last but not the least, we will speak with Alan Tanjusay regarding the loss of jobs for the youth, the 18 to 20 na idinadaing ko na walang katapusan kasi marami po talagang 18 to 20 nakakatulong sa magulang, nakakatulong sa pamilya. May mga pamilya na kailangan pakainin pero hindi pinapayagang lumabas ng bahay, hindi pinapayagang magtrabaho. Okay, let's go to the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. Two separate explosions rocked Jolo, Sulu yesterday, leaving at least 14 dead and 75 injured. According to the Western Mindanao Command, the fatalities composed of 7 soldiers, a Special Action Force commando, and 6 civilians. The first explosion occurred at around 11:53 a.m., while the second blast was recorded at around 1 p.m., 100 meters away from the first explosion site. The attackers have yet to be identified, but earlier reports have indicated that the Abu Sayyaf threatened to conduct suicide bombing attacks in Jolo. Malacanang and a number of senators have condemned the bombing. Our prayers and our condolences go out to the families of our dead soldiers as well as the civilians in Jolo, Sulu. At sana po ay gabayan kayo ng Panginoon. May God give you comfort and we mourn with you and your loss is our loss. We go to the next story. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana takes a strong stance against China, saying that their 9-dash line claim on most of South China Sea is a fabrication. Lorenzana said the Chinese so-called historical rights over the area only exists in their imaginations. These remarks came after a fresh dispute between Manila and Beijing over Panatag Shoal. Next up, some employees of PhilHealth have expressed their interest to testify on the alleged anomalies within the state-run insurer, says the Justice Department. Undersecretary Mark Perete said some PhilHealth employees approached the task force conducting the investigation, which is led by the DOJ. For now, Perete said they are still validating the content of the employee's testimony, and if the information they are providing are indeed verified, these employees will be allowed to testify under the Witness Protection Program. Just a side comment on this piece of news, I assume that Undersecretary Perete was merely accommodating some reporters answering questions, but this is the sort of activity or behavior of government officials, particularly those conducting investigation. Hindi po wala po ako sinisingle out dito, no? But clearly, wala pa eh. Hindi mo pa nga na-verify kung meron talaga. Hindi mo pa siya na-re-record, hindi mo pa siya na-enroll. Pagkatapos sinasabi mo na, oh, may mga lumapit na, iimbestigahan namin. Kumba, the justice system tells reporters, journalists, oh, we can't comment on this because this is sub judice. But what about this? You have not even officially settled everything, addressed everything formally, and you're already sharing to the public na meron pong mga lumapit na. My only concern here, and this is not an affront or attack against Usec Perete, but yun yung mga dahilan kung bakit may mga nadudukot na potential witness. Yan yung dahilan kung bakit mayroong mga nakikidnap o nababayaran ng mga titistigo. Okay? Huwag po natin pangunahan. If you need to investigate, do it quietly, do it professionally. It's not your job to feed us unsustained, unverified, unofficial sabi-sabi. Okay, let's move on. Here's an interesting story. Experts from the UP OCTA research team says that COVID-19 disease is not yet out of control, and in fact, the country may see a flattening of the curve by September. However, Professor Guido David clarified that flattening does not mean the fight is over, but it will only show a decline. This comes after their team has discovered that the R naught is slowly slowing down. The number of new cases is also coming into a decline, David says. These are good indicators, and if sustained, it can lead to flattening the case in Metro Manila and Calabar Zone. Alam niyo po, side comment ko lang dyan kasi ako, sinabi ko na ito sa inyo. Ako, nag-math 11 7 times. Kasi nung bata-bata ako, nasa elementary pa lang ako, nabanatan ako ng isang napaka-walang hiyang maestro. Pinalo-palo ako, pinalalayas ako ng kwarto pag hindi ko nagagawa yung aking mga math assignments. So talaga na trauma ako, and I could hardly squeeze through math. It was only because of the kindness of a professor in math in UP, Fe Reyes, na pinakinggan yung kaso ko and pinrove ko. Sabi ko, ma'am, gusto mo dun sa office mo, gagawin ko yung test, papasa ako. Pag nilagay mo ako sa classroom, hindi na ako papasa. It's just mental. In any case, so ako math 77, take 7 eh. Okay, ngayon. Pero parang, nung inaral ko ho itong tungkol dito sa flattening of the curve, ito yung aking simple mathematics dito. Dumami ang testing natin. Dumami ng dumami. Lumawak, lumaki yung numbers. So kung marami kang natetest, di syempre, kumbaga di ba kaya parang lumabnaw na, diluted na. That's why we're getting this impression. Yun sa akin lang yun. Pero mamaya, pakinggan nyo yung sinasabihin sa atin ni former Secretary Cabral na, yes, baka mag-flatten. Di matuwa ka. Pero may problema. Mamaya, share sa atin yan ni Secretary Cabral. In the meantime, let's go to Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan, and who is also Chief of Staff of the Office of the Secretary dyan po sa DepEd. Usec Malaluan, andyan na po ba kayo?
Yes, good morning, Sir Cito, and to all your viewers.
Okay. I would normally say good morning, but I commiserate na lang, comrade. Kasi nangungod sumiraw kayo dahil may mga kasama kayong nagkakasakit, etc. I mean, how bad is the situation? Because from what we've picked up, there are 800 confirmed cases of COVID-19 among its personnel and learners. Active daw is 310, recovered 490, at nalagasan na raw kayo ng 23. Is this true? You said that 20, you've actually had deaths?
Well, this is our monitoring, cumulative monitoring ito from the time we set up the DepEd COVID-19 task force way back in February when the UN declared this to be a public health concern of international proportion. We already immediately created a COVID-19 task force. At itong task force na ito has expression from the central office all the way to the field, and what we tap is our DRR teams on the ground kasi sila naman yung sanay at saka organized talaga for disaster response, at dinagdagan lang noong health aspect, and this coordinates with local health authorities and local government units. So yun yung cumulative monitoring. You're correct, as of August 23, we have monitored 804 combined learners, teaching and non-teaching personnel from the field, and 19 from the central office.
Yeah, but what shocks me, Yusek, kasi parang, we've all been commiserating, expressing condolences and prayers for frontliners, lalo na yung mga namatay. I just mentioned that yesterday, no, namatay na naman yung isang doktor, number 40th frontliner. Pero hindi namin nababalitaan itong, pati pala kayo sa DepEd, nalalagasan na kayo. You've had 20, is that correct? 22 kamo, 23 deaths na. Ano yung mga teachers?
Well, 23 deaths ito. We have 6 learners. These are while they are on vacation, of course. Hindi pa naman
Hmm.
sila pumapasok. So this is in home setting. Teaching personnel, we've had 9. 7 non-teaching personnel, and plus 1 from the central office. So that comes to 23 na may deaths with confirmed COVID-19 cases. In this these numbers, kung ikukumpara natin itong 297 learners that confirmed out of more than 22.5 million in the private sector, that's really just about 0.001%.
Yun, actually,
Yeah.
naunahan mo ako kasi yun nga yung tatanong ko. And now, yung sa learners, talagang napakaliit, which is, I mean, my heart goes to their parents, malungkot na mawalan ng anak. Pero sa pandemic na ito, parang expected na talaga na may mga mawawalan ng mahal sa buhay. But going back to this issue about teachers, ilan ba ang teachers natin? Sabi mo, nine teaching staff ang namatay. How many teachers do we have? And ano ba yung rate of infection among teachers? Kung meron ka lang data dyan, kung wala, I fully
Uh,
understand.
we've had of that 804 ay 340 dito ay teaching personnel, and out of a total of yung aming field teaching and teaching related, kasama dito yung mga principals, ay about 850,000. So that comes to 0.04
Mhm.
percent. So in other words, it's uh, and for non-teaching personnel, mas mataas actually than teaching personnel.
Pag sinabi mong non-teaching personnel, ano yung mga janitor, mga
At
messenger o mga office?
uh, office staff natin, dahil may administrative staff tayo in all places, sa region, sa division, may mga finance people tayo. In
Hmm.
fact, we of course, our teachers will be our frontliners, especially when we open the classes, kasi kahit remote learning, they will still have activities that require physical presence in,
Hmm.
let's say, office, as they do the logistics for distance learning.
Okay.
Pero itong ating non-teaching personnel in the central, region, and division, ito talaga ang at the minimum ay may skeleton forces tayo. Yung mga nagpe-prepare ng sweldo ng mga guro natin, and then doing the policy decisions that have to be made. In fact, the secretary herself has not worked from home from the start of this pandemic. So ang kanilang 167 yan out of 63,965. So that's 0.261. So that's higher than the others. But overall, ang ating rate of infection, if you call it that,
Hmm.
ay at the national level, it's about 1.75% based on our as of August 23 na 189,000 confirmed cases ng ng DOH, and based on our population of 100 8 million or so, ay that's about 1.756 of the
Okay.
population. Ang tingin namin ay hindi ang sektor ng edukasyon yung pangunahing may risk factor. Siguro kung titingnan yung ibang sectors ay baka maaring mas malaki. And
Yeah.
we are monitoring this precisely because we want to take care of our own, because we think that the approach to the public health management has to have a lot of a sectoral approach dahil syempre
Mhm.
we police our ranks and we monitor our ranks, and we also, as much as possible to the extent that resources will allow, would have to take care of our ranks. At tinitingnan din namin kung ano ba, based on our informal monitoring, ano ba yung mga suspected source of infection that can inform us in aside from yung mga data
Yeah, yeah,
analytics or
kasi
staging.
Yusek ang unang pangamba, and I know he means well. The chairman on the Committee on Education sa Kongreso, sa Senado, si Win Gatchalian. His concern is yung movements ng ating DepEd staff, DepEd teaching personnel, baka yun pa ang maging dahilan sa kanilang pagkahawa at ultimately pagkahawa ng mga bata. Now, the question is, saan ba ang suspected point of infection para dito sa mga, let's start with the teaching staff. And then, what about for the learners? Kasi sabi mo yung learners, mga nasa bahay eh. So, mas malamang community transmission. Doon ba sa mga teaching and non-teaching staff nyo, masasabi natin that the point of transmission or contracting COVID-19 was at the workplace?
Actually, ang those who dun sa monitoring natin na nag-report ng transmission in the workplace ay maliit lamang ito. 6 for the teaching personnel and 8 for the non-teaching personnel. So it is kasi ang mga teachers natin mahaba yung bakasyon nila,
Mm.
nito lamang silang part of June, and hindi most of this is work from home.
Mm.
So mas malaki yung non-teaching personnel ang in work setting because as I mentioned, the non-teaching personnel never had a vacation and we always maintained at the minimum skeleton force. But ang pinakamalaki, siyempre merong unknown, as you mentioned, community transmission, hindi na ma-pinpoint. Pero dun sa mga may talagang strong suspicion of where they got it, ang isa ay yung exposure to confirmed cases within the household. So sometimes the mother, the father, sibling, or with relatives. Kasi apparently our households see relatives na other households, but sometimes they siguro you let your guard down because you feel that it is an extension of your home and you feel that they are taking the necessary precaution, and then the others are with others na hindi indicated yung context.
Mm.
Yung market, grocery, bank, other basic needs, hospital visits for non-COVID concerns, and local travel, visit to family and friends. So those are the common. So there appears to be certain lapses in the precautions in the home, when you go out for your essentials, uh, and when you do your local travel. So those
But
are
but
the
as
things.
you pointed out, it is not a disastrous amount of lapses. Kumbaga, kamo anim lang ang teaching personnel na nahawa, 8 yung non-teaching personnel na nahawa na na-report sa inyo.
From
Eh,
from uh, from office setting, from workplace setting.
from
But
workplace. So
yeah.
hindi siya ganoon katindi. Kasi what we want to dispel is this impression na, nako, pag ang daming teacher na nahawa, mas maraming mga estudyante ang mahawa. So clearly, workplace, hindi ganun ka sama ang sitwasyon, which is good for the DepEd. And by the way, nonetheless, mismo, ikaw mismo, alam mo naman yon, kayong source wala naman tayong face-to-face teaching. Sinabi na yan the whole time ni DepEd Secretary Liling Briones. Now, ano ba ang ginagawa ninyong protocol tungkol dito sa yung mga talagang may physical contact? Because lalabas at lalabas sila eh. May meeting at may meeting o may distribution ng mga gamit. Ano ba ang ginagawa ninyong preventive measure?
Well, dalawang aspect. One is the preventive and the other is the management kung may exposure or symptoms na nag-develop. So dun sa preventive side, of course, kasama dyan yung checking of symptoms. Temperature is the first one. Yung wearing of face mask, yung
Paano
hand
yung
and
testing?
respiratory hygiene. Ganito yung sa testing. May testing protocol kami na inadapt at merong mga grupo na nagsasabi ng mass testing. Pero ang aming mungkahi doon sa mga nagsasabi na mag-mass testing ang DepEd ay i-define nila kung ano talaga ang coverage, frequency, and the manner of testing for that. Dahil we do not see it feasible na universal testing ang DepEd. Pangalawa, one time lang ba yan? Pangatlo, ay
I
ano
mean,
bang manner of testing?
yeah, Usec, presumably, it would be similar to what the DOLE is saying. Mag-test kayo at least once a month, PCR. At sinasabi ni Joey Concepcion, para makatipid tayo, di 10-10, pag may nag-positive, o di test lahat.
I will send to you some lessons that were derived by the UPPGH when it did this matter, and it made several findings, and may mga best practices siya na binanggit doon. Ang isa ay napaka-attractive. Nakita nila na pagka nag-announce ka ng mass testing, ang taas ng rate of ibig sabihin participation among their officials, and then may mga na-trace nga sila, pero may mga ilan din silang caution dito dahil ang mass testing is a point in time testing. Ibig sabihin after you test now, paglabas nila hindi mo na alam kung how good
Wala kang,
that test
wala
is.
kang
And
garantiya.
Garantiya. And in fact, sabi nila ay after that mass testing ay nagkaroon ng increase din in the infection rate afterwards. And then the next is napakahirap nung regular mass testing because to complete yung staff complement nila, what was intended to be every 2 weeks ay just the first round ay parang umabot na yata ng 4 weeks just to complete them. So ang aming testing protocol na inadapt is still an indicated testing for symptoms, pagka may symptoms at saka may known exposure. And of course, immediately pagka may nalaman na na-expose is contact tracing, and if necessary, like we did last week, we shut down the office for 2 days at nagkataon na kasama ang weekend, so about 5 days to complete the contact tracing. Kasi pag hindi mo na contact trace, baka may mga pumapasok sa opisina na yun pala ay may exposure. So I think we will still do that. Na indicated yung testing namin, hindi non-discriminatory testing.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to leave it at that. Medyo naubusan na tayo ng oras dahil inaabangan din natin yung speech si Presidente at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much, Usec Malaluan, and mabuti naman po na okay kayo dyan at we are keeping the infections to minimum, and good luck for the opening of classes in October. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, and we'll keep on updating as the school year opens. Thank you.
Okay, yan po si Usec Malaluan, and we will be right back after this break. Okay, you're back here on agenda and tuloy po tayo sa ating pag-i-interview. Let's bring in Undersecretary Epimaco Densing III of the Department of Interior and Local Government. Usec Densing, nandiyan na po ba kayo?
Present.
That's why I like interviewing you, sir. Okay, sir, siguro question, request, appeal. Kasi marami na rin pong nagpapahiwatig sa amin na nako-confuse na sila sa sobrang daming mga, syempre, totoo naman, every month may bagong changes o na kailangan mong ito ang dapat gawin, ito ang pwede, ito hindi pwedeng gawin. Nalilito ang maraming tao. For instance, merong akong nadinig, no? Hindi ko nasasabihin kung sino yung government official, sabi, yung mga magmumotor, basta meron kayong face mask, may face shield, at saka naka-helmet kayo, at saka meron kayo nung barrier, pwede kayong lumabas at gamitin yung motor. At may mga nag-react, sabi, nasubukan na ba niyang mag-face mask, mag-face shield, at mag-helmet? Baka hindi na siya makahinga. So yung ganon. And then meron namang lumabas na report, hindi story, hindi kwento, but news report na sinasabi yung mga senior citizen ay have right to travel, can move about, walang curfew at pwedeng magpunta sa mga mall. And pagdating sa mall, hinaharang, pinapara. So, and then another one, actually this repeats itself, no? And I spoke with Senator Gatchalian about it yesterday, and he concurred and confirmed it. Yung bang iba-ibang barangay, iba-ibang bayan, iba-ibang batas. Merong isang barangay, napuntahan yung kakilala namin, nasa private car siya, pagdating doon sa checkpoint, sabi, ba't hindi kayo naka-face mask? Sabi niya, sir, private car ho ito, kotse ko ito. Hindi, dapat naka-face mask kayo. Yung mga ganon, parang we are now a country of so many thousand kingdoms and medyo nagkakairitahan na po.
I agree. Although we've the IATF has issued guidelines, general guidelines na lahat susunod. We still give autonomy to the local governments kaya nagkakaiba-iba. Well, una sa lahat, totoo yan, nag-iiba yung sitwasyon natin depende sa mga lumalabas na scientific na feedback that we have. For example, noong una pinagbabawal natin kahit mag-asawa na sumakay ng mag-backride unless may face shield. Ngayon, ang panuntunan based sa feedback naman ng ating yung gumagawa ng scientific basis yung sa transmission ng COVID virus as long as kahit backrider ka, as long as naka-face mask, hindi naman face shield, ano? Pero naka-helmet, hindi mo tatanggalin siya throughout the travel as a backrider, yung risk of transmission mababa. Ang risk mo na lang dyan pag nagkakadikit yung katawan at mahawakan mo yung virus sa kabila tapos maihawak mo sa mukha. So may mga basis na, no? So may mga exception na itong mga bago lumabas. Pangalawa, sa ating senior citizens, base sa, I think a few weeks ago or a month ago, binanggit nyo yung senior citizens. Slowly, we're opening up senior citizens to go out. But generally naman, pwede naman silang lumabas at two instances, no, regardless of the community quarantine classification. Una, kung sila'y nagtatrabaho, talagang pwede naman silang lumabas. No? Pangalawa, kung sila ay bibili ng pagkain and household essentials, pwede rin sila lumabas. Pero, pinagbabawal sila kung outside of those two exceptions. Pero dahan-dahan na natin binubuksan. For instance, I think pinapayagan na silang lumabas para mag-golf, para mag-jogging, para maglakad. Sa Region 6, not Region 6, but in the province of Aklan, pinayagan na natin ang senior citizens na pumunta ng Boracay, of course, using with the usual health protocols. So dahan-dahan natin binubuksan. Ang importante kasi ma-minimize natin ang transmission ng disease sa kanila dahil sila po ang pinaka-vulnerable, no? Na madaling tamaan. Pangatlo, I think the last item is yung bakit iba-iba ang rules, no? Una sa lahat, again, the IATF would issue general guidelines that everybody should be the minimum for everybody. But for the local government, again, we recognize and respect their autonomy. Pag labas na siya dun sa IATF guidelines at hindi naman violative, they can also issue guidelines. Pero medyo iko-correct ko lang na tinama na ito. Kung nag-iisa ka lang sa kotse, pwede naman hindi na mag-face mask. No? Pero pag may kasama, dahil may possible transmission sa loob, ini-encourage pa rin mag-face mask. Kaya nga, sa pamilya, pinapa-face mask.
Yeah, that's the thing, Usec, no? And I know you are trying to balance things out. But yun nga yung issue yung parang nasa kotse ka, kasama mo ang pamilya mo, kasama mo yung mga anak mo or whatever. I mean, I assume kasama mo asawa mo, no? Tapos sabihin, hindi, dapat naka-face mask kayo. Para bang you encourage people. And that's a problem. And then makakatapat ka ng CQ o makakatapat ka ng barangay tanod na feeling niya is a special action force siya kasi ang dami niyang kasamang special action force, magtututuro ng hintuturo, basag ulo na nangyayari o nagkakainitan. And I'm speaking from experience, no? So, and then this repeated the other week, mga kakilala ko nagkwento sa Zoom na ano ba nangyayari dito? Ano ba talagang batas? Maybe siguro kasi ikaw naman talagang very supportive ka and responsive ka. Maybe we can take it up with the IATF kasi po alam nyo, yung mga once a day noontime show na press conference, hindi ho umaabot sa mga mamamayan Parang sila lang ang nag-uusap doon, press conference, Malacanang press. Pero yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan, kailangan na ba yung face shield? Like yesterday and the day before, ang daming na-aresto sa mga bus, mga jeep na walang face shield. Kasi hindi nila alam na kailangan pala. I'm just bringing this up to you, Usec, no? Because we also don't want to see people get angry, get hurt. And alam nyo, pag nagkaganyan na, gobyerno na ang kanilang pinag-iinitan.
At tama po yan. In fact, just last Thursday, which is the latest IATF meeting, I reported and mentioned this to the whole IATF for this consideration because 2 days prior to our IATF meeting, kami sa DILG, had a dialogue with the Economic Affairs Committee of the House of Representatives. Hindi siya hearing, no? Dialogue lang, pero naging hearing kasi ang dami lang tanong namin.
Okay.
That was the main point. The main point of many of the congressmen there was to tell the IATF that there's a problem of communicating to the public. And when I mentioned this to the IATF vigorously last Thursday, spokesperson Harry Roque reacted by saying yes, it could happen. The once a week press con over lunch may not be that effective, and they are now planning out a communication strategies to bring down the communication or these updates up to the lowest level, to the barangay level. So antayin na lang po natin yung
Sige.
office spokesperson kung ano yung
Okay.
strategy ang gagawin nila.
Okay, mabuti. Maganda pong balita yan. Kasi ako, honestly, kilala mo naman ako, Usec, matagal na ako nagtuturo sa communication. Let's remove the personalities and faces when it comes to essential, urgent, public announcements and information. Mas mabuti pa ho yung paulit-ulit, walang muka, walang arte, magsuot kayo ng mask, magsuot kayo ng face shield, kailan kayo pwede, kailan kayo hindi pwede, para nagkakaintindihan at wala nang dahilan na hindi ko ho alam. Hindi ba yung mga kamote, yung mga kamot ulo, hindi ko ho alam. Thank you.
There's a proposal to simplify nga, no? May proposal
Yun.
to simplify. Tapos gagawa ng mga materials, let's say, ano yung mga dapat gagawin pag ECQ, MECQ, may matrix na ipapamigay sa taong bayan para meron silang binabasa. Pati comics, consider na rin.
Okay, wag na yung comics. Wala na nagbabasa ng comics na yan kung hindi Marvel. Mabuti pa yung simpleng radyo, telebisyon, dyaryo, at saka social media. Maraming salamat, Usec. Alam ko, busy ka rin at tayo medyo nag-aabang doon sa anunsyo ni Presidente. Thank you very much, Usec.
Magandang umaga.
Okay, yan po si Usec Epimaco Densing. We will go for a quick break. When we return, punta naman po tayo kay former Health Secretary Cabral dun sa kanyang sinasabing pag tayo ay nagplateau o nagflatten the curve, good ba o bad? We'll be right back. Okay, kung ako po yung nakangisi kasi natatawa ko itong aking executive producer muntik na atakehin sa puso nung bigla akong nag-off cam. Alam niyo po, iyan ang problema sa work from home. Kasi pag bigla nag-alboroto yung bawaw, kailangan puntahan mo. Ito, hingal na hingal ako dahil akyat baba ka ng hagdanan. In any case, yun lang. Ganyan lang ang buhay, Gabi. Huwag ka mag-alala. Okay, puntahan na po natin ang ating piling bisita. Isa sa mga tutulong sa ating intindihin. Totoo ba? Totoo ba na maplaplate na yung curve? Puntahan po natin. Former Secretary of Health, Esperanza Cabral. Doc, Sec, good morning.
Good morning, Cito. Kamusta sa inyong lahat?
Oo, ito hinihingal ako at itong aking great din nag-aalboroto. Ayaw yatang nakakulong mag-isa sa kwarto. In any case, Sec, ito po, no, merong lumalabas na study dyan sa observation ng mga kaibigan natin. Kaibigan ko yan, sila Guido David, sila Ranjit Rai, na sinasabing kung swertehin tayo, ay baka mag-flatten na yung curve sa September. And halos pupusta ako, nakakasiguro ako na pag ito kumalat na itong balitang to, babanatan itong mga kaibigan ko kasi marami magsasabi, paano pinagsasabi niyong flatten the curve? Ang tataas ng ating mga statistics of cases and total number of cases, etc. What can you say about this, Doktora?
Para sa akin, mabuti naman kung bababa na yung mga kaso at mafa-flatten siya dun sa sinasabi ni Professor David. Pero para sa akin ay hindi ito sufisyente. Kung maaalala mo, nung end of July, ay nagreklamo ang mga doktor at sinabi nila na time out muna dahil kami ay pagod na, na-overwhelm na kami, hindi na namin kaya, ang dami ng pasyente na dumadating sa amin sa ospital. So, nag-time out tayo. Pero mula noon, pumanik pa rin ang kaso everyday. May mga araw na umaabot siya sa almost 7,000 new cases per day. Kung ipa-flatten natin yung curve na ang ibig sabihin palagi na lang tayong magiging 6,000 o 5,000, ganyan. Kulang yan dahil sa yan pa rin yung point na overwhelmed pa rin ang ating healthcare system. Ang kailangan ay hindi lamang i-flatten ang curve, kailangan ibaba ang mga kaso. Next week maybe 3,000 cases per day, active new cases. Susunod na linggo o 2 linggo, 2,000. Susunod na linggo o 2 linggo, 1,000. Hanggang umabot siya dun sa punto na kaya nang alagaan ng ating mga healthcare workers ang mga nagkakasakit. Ibig sabihin, lahat tayo, we should not let our guards down. In fact, dapat pa nating paigtingin ang ating pagsunod sa mga health protocols para hindi tayo magkahawa-hawa at para bumaba ang kaso, hindi lamang mag-flatten o mag-plateau. Malaki ang responsibilidad ng ating mamamayan tungkol dito, pero napakalaki din ang responsibilidad ng pamahalaan.
Okay, Sec, medyo maganda yung sinabi mo kasi just so ordinary people will understand, do sa mga hindi masyadong nakuha yun, para hong may lagnat ka, nag-temperature ka, nag-thermometer ka at sabi ng thermometer 40 ka, pero hindi na tumataas, 40 ka na lang, 1 linggo ka ng 40. Palagay ko, pag 1 linggo kang 40, mamamatay ka. So, dapat, yung pag-flatten ng curve, yung dun sa mababang antas ng temperatura. So, dito, mataas yung bilang ng COVID, tumigil nga yung pagtaas, pero pumirmi naman, napako sa 4,000, 5,000, malala pa rin yung sitwasyon natin. So, okay, so, yes, ma'am. So para wag maling akala na naman yung kababayan natin, okay na, we're winning the war. Kasi baka mamaya may big magsabi na namang nanalo sila sa UP. In any case, sorry, I couldn't help it. Kasi hindi, ganyan yung mga komentaryo, di ba? In any case, how do you assess our present situation? You've been a former Secretary of Health, and with no disrespect towards Secretary Duque and all their efforts at the DOH, how do you assess our current situation? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong?
Ako din alam ko na ang ating mga kawani sa Department of Health ay ginagawa nila lahat ng magagawa nila. Pero palagi kong sinasabi sa kanila na your best is not yet good enough. So you have to try some more until it is good enough. And I hope that later on, we are going to be able to increase the capacity of the healthcare system para talagang bumaba na ang kaso ng COVID-19 dito sa ating bansa. Dahil kung hindi pa ito bababa, hindi pa natin mabubuksan ng kompleto ang ating ekonomiya at hihirap ang buhay ng mga tao.
Now, sinabi mo dapat taasan yung capability of our healthcare system. Everyone's tried to do something. To be fair, everyone has tried to do something.
Yes.
But sinabi ko nga ito minsan doon sa isang na-interview ko, ito ang problema ko sa strategy natin. Pinadadami lang natin yung kamang available para sa mga COVID-19 cases, but we are not really building massive structures, massive ICU hospitals na katulad nung sinabi ng mga tiga-China, yung Chinese delegation na nagpunta dito last April. Sabi, maghanda na kayo, gumawa na kayo ng 1,000 bed ICUs kasi kakailanganin ninyo. And so far, they're talking about 250 here, 300 there. Pero sabi ko, kung ang kaso ninyo everyday ay 4 to 5,000, sabi mo nga 7,000, and 20% of that requires hospitalization, intensive care, di ibig sabihin everyday you need 100 more beds. Tama po ba ako doon?
Oo, talagang kailangan natin ng marami. At nangihinayang ako dahil sa yung dumaan na 5 buwan, ay dapat ginugol natin yung panahon na yon sa pagtataas ng kapasidad ng ating healthcare system. Ang kalungkutan ko ay ang nangyari, yung ating reaction ay piecemeal. Kung tumaas ngayon ng konti, dadagdagan natin ng konti, hindi tayo nagkaroon ng imagination para makita natin na pagka ganito ang nangyari, at ito na nga yung sinasabi ng mga researchers na nagsasabi na may estimate sila na pag ganito, magiging ganito sa susunod na buwan. Dapat yun ay sinusundan at yun ang binibigyan ng sapat na aksyon. Hindi yung 10 kaso ngayon na nadagdag, magsasabi na ganito ang gagawin natin. So kailangan talaga ng malawakan at mabilis na reaction dito sa ating pandemya. Dahil ito ay hindi ordinaryong sakit na bukas ay mawawala na. Hindi ito ordinaryong sakit na hindi naman masyadong nakakahawa. Alam natin na sobrang nakakahawa, maraming nagiging malala ang pagkakasakit, maraming namamatay. So dapat ang reaction natin ay talagang malaki.
Okay, may nagsabi, I think it was Janet Garin, who is a former Secretary of Health also, nagsabi na, I think it was her, no, who said, we need to learn to coexist with COVID-19. And that line has been repeated, and I've heard it even abroad in other countries in news conferences, yung coexisting with COVID-19. Ang pinoproblema ko ngayon at kinonfirm ito ni Mayor Alfred Romualdez sa Tacloban that in the province of Leyte, nagkakaroon sila ng mga outbreak do sa iba-ibang bayan kasi people have started to party. Hindi party para lang malasing. Kumbaga, puro sila reunion. Nagse-celebrate sila ng birthday party. And parang naisip ko, ano ba ito? Psychological backlash ba ito? Ito ba yung ganti ko sa COVID-19? Magsasaya na ako, magse-celebrate na ako with my friends. And you being a health secretary, have you seen this kind of behavior in society na kung saan pag sila medyo parang na-quarantine o na-force na hindi pwede to, bawal yan, biglang para bang pumapalag at o kaya may rebound effect. Kumbaga yung nag-break, nagka-break, bigla nag-rebound.
Oo. Natural na reaction ng mga tao yan sa pagsikil sa kanilang mga ginagawa. Na pagka nag-loosen up na, hindi na masyadong mahigpit, talagang gusto na nilang gawin kung ano yung matagal na hindi nila nagawin. Kaya dapat yung sinasabi natin we must coexist with the virus ay dapat tatandaan natin na nandyan pa rin yung virus. Para sa akin, yung coexistence na yon ay hindi sa ngayon. Kailangan pa natin gawin lahat ng pwede natin gawin para pababain ang incidence nitong ng COVID-19. Pag mababa na siya say, sa isang araw, mga 10 cases na lamang o 20 cases ang nare-report, masasabi natin na yun yung point na pwede na tayong mag-coexist with the virus, gagawin na lang natin yung ating mga pag-iingat, pero hindi na tayo magkakaroon ng susunod na maraming kaso pa ng COVID-19. So, yun ang ating goal. Hindi natin goal na i-flatten ang curve sa 3,000, 4,000 cases per day. Ang goal natin ay pababain siya as close to zero as possible. At ang mga tao, alam ko na pigil ang kanilang mga damdamin at aksyon dahil sa matagal na silang may feeling na nakakulong sila. Pero konting tiis pa tayo at pag sinabi na ganito lamang ang pwede natin gawin, dapat i-explain sa kanila kung bakit para maintindihan nila, para mas madali sa kanila na sumunod.
Okay. Do you honestly believe, Secretary, that the light is about to shine? The break we've all been praying for is on its way? Or medyo let's talk about this in 2021?
Palagi ko, let's talk about it in 2021.
Aray ko, yan ang gusto ko sa iyo. You always tell the truth no matter what. Talagang physician ka. Thank you very much, Secretary Cabral, and please take care of yourself. We will now shift to the speech of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, we now shift. We turn you over to the speech of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.